Well, we are only 2 weeks in, but the Jets already have to save their season from disaster. What's going on, guys? The New York sports fan. And today I'm recapping the absolute mess, the colossal failure that was the Jets' Week 2 game against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, every Jets fan knew going into this game it was going to be a massive challenge. You saw what the defensive front of Dallas did in Week 1, just haunting and murdering the Giants' offensive unit, and you thought the Jets would have some time to prepare for it. They could learn, they could feed the running game, and they could go with a conservative approach to perhaps upset the vaunted Cowboys defense, and unfortunately, it just did not go as planned. And before anyone says anything about Zach Wilson, you have to remember this. The Jets were never going to win with Zach Wilson throwing the football 30 to 40 times a game and him putting multiple touchdowns on the board. That's just not how this team was ever going to be designed. Even in the best case scenario for Zach Wilson, he was never going to be expected to put the team on his shoulders. And the only way the Jets would have won that game yesterday is if their quarterback put the team on his shoulders, because he was getting no help whatsoever. Let's start off with this first drive. This defense, the defense that DJ Reed was talking up as potentially being as good as the 85 Bears, what the hell was that? They let the Cowboys, as Tony Romo put, systematically drive down the field and make it look easy. And I mean, what worse way to give the ball to the Jets offense and Zach Wilson already being down 7 points? And to make matters worse, the first offensive play of the game for the Jets even more strongly set the tone. They feed the ball to Breece Hall, and he's buried 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. But you thought, okay, maybe it's just one bad drive. They'll continue with the ground and pound. And unfortunately, they completely abandoned it. The defense continued to let up points. And then once the Jets finally showed an ounce of life, when Zach Wilson hit Garrett Wilson over the middle on a slant pattern that went 68 yards for a touchdown, what does the defense do next? Well, I'll tell you what, the great Sauce Gardner, who I love, who has been extremely disappointing so far this season, drops a guaranteed touchdown pass on what should have been a pick six from Dak Prescott. And from that point on, the Jets showed absolutely no life in this game whatsoever. I actually thought that Zach Wilson was extremely encouraging in that first half of football. He was stepping up in the pocket, he was protecting the ball, and he was making things happen with his legs and utilizing his mobility. However, when the defense is not giving you a chance, when you have no running game and then quickly abandon it, and when you have no protection at all, and Zach Wilson was pressured 70% of his snaps yesterday, then what are you really expecting to happen? Let's look at Zach Wilson's stat line, 12 of 27. We know that's terrible, but I can count off the top of my head at least 2 drops from Breece Hall on screen passes, 1 drop from Garrett Wilson, and then, so many plays where he really had no chance, where he was dropping back and given no protection at all. Something needs to change with this offensive line. I understand that the Cowboys have a great defensive front, maybe the best one the Jets will see all year, but you simply can't roll out a 40-year-old Dwayne Brown who's clearly washed up, and another washed up guard right next to him in Laken Tomlinson. The Jets are at 1-1 right now, and they're at a crossroads because this season can easily slip away. You look at the Jets' schedule, and it's incredibly difficult. You have New England coming up, probably the easiest game the Jets will have for the next few weeks, but it's also a team the Jets haven't beaten in nearly a decade. That game is an absolute must-win. In order for the Jets to respond, they're going to need to change something up systematically with the offensive line, whether that be changing the personnel group or whether that be adding a 2 tight end formation. Something needs to give. And defensively, why don't we think about getting Sauce Gardner on the number 1 receiver and having him follow that guy all day? CeeDee Lamb absolutely destroyed the Jets secondary yesterday. But when you look at what DJ Reed and what Sauce Gardner did specifically, they were pretty good. They only let up a few catches each, and what really destroyed the Jets defense were the safeties and the linebackers being constantly targeted in zone coverage. Sauce Gardner is going to need to be paired up with the opposing team's number one wide receiver in order for this team to have the best possible defense on the field, and they're going to need it. Call me crazy. I still have some confidence that Zach Wilson can manage this team to success if the defense plays up to how well we all expect them to be, and the Jets actually approach the offense with a run-first mindset. 4 carries for Breece Hall is not okay. But what's even more not okay is Breece Hall going to social media and complaining about it. That falls on Robert Saleh. Saleh's got to gather his group together and get them focused for the remainder of this season because it is still early. They still have a season in front of them, and they can still have a good season if they don't get away from things. But none of it's going to matter if this defense does not play up to their potential. Let me know what you guys think, and as always, all the love.